Al Jazeera podcasts.
Today, is toxic air making Delhi unlivable?
Year after year, Delhi's winter pollution has been described with metaphors: blanket of smog, breath of death, toxic haze, even airpocalypse.
As the city chokes through yet another smog season, residents are demanding real action after a decade of breathing the world's dirtiest air. I'm Kevin Hirten, and this is The Take. Hi. Before we continue with today's show, remember to leave us a comment telling us what you think about this episode and what stories you want us to do next. And if you're on your favorite podcast app, leave us a review telling us where you're listening from, and you might as well give us a 5-star rating while you're there. It really does help the show.
I'm Yashraj Sharma, and I'm a reporter based in New Delhi.
Yash, welcome to The Take. So yeah, as you said, you're in Delhi right now, where air quality has been sitting in the poor to severe range on the air quality index since about early November. It's not good. So let's start with the visceral. Can you describe what that toxic smog looks like and especially feels like when you're out on the street?
Visually, it's a flat gray-brown haze just over your head, just right in front of your eyes. You can feel it sometimes. Landmarks and high-rises, you just can't see. They are ghosted out. You can't look at the sky. You can't look at the buildings at times right across the street. The visibility on some days are really poor. You can't feel the sun. Like the sun doesn't come on, I think that's perhaps one of the most weird things about it, that you just don't see the sun. It's just like a very pale yellow disk in the sky.
Do you feel it on your body, in your eyes?
Yes, you can taste it. It's like, it's a taste of ash. And that's the worst. So you can feel it in your eyes. Your eyes are itchy. Your eyes are watery sometimes. Some people are more sort of vulnerable to it, because of their own conditions. But even normally I feel there's itching in my eyes. Chest feels heavy. The breathing gets harder. It's like you have to take more effort to just breathe. And it's like you would cough. You would always feel that itch. And it smells bad, I don't know. Everybody would have their own things about what they don't like the most. But the worst thing that I find about Delhi winters now is the smell of this. I mean, it's bad.
Oh, man.
It's very bad. It's always around. It's the air. It's in the air. You can't escape it. So it's always there.
Yeah, it's omnipresent. Okay, so I have so many questions. Air pollution is called particulate matter. And what we're talking about here is called PM 2.5. Yes. These are very, very tiny particles, 2.5 micrometers in diameter. And that's like 30 times smaller than a human hair. And because it's so small, it can penetrate the alveoli inside of the lungs and even enter the bloodstream. It's really, really dangerous to be breathing this stuff in. So in terms of the particulate matter, what are these particles that everyone is breathing in, and what is the source of them?
There are multiple sources to it. And it's like the worst sort of equation playing out every winter in front of you. It's a multiple factor. There are stubble burning, after every seasonal farm cycle, comes to an end.
In India's Punjab, farmers are torching their fields in preparation for sowing season. Around 150 miles away, New Delhi gasps for breath. Farm fires in the neighbouring states Haryana and Punjab are a major source of the smog that is engulfing the capital and its 30 million residents.
Vehicular pollution, there's construction pollution going around in and around the capital all the time. There are dust particles in the air. But what happens? Why it is so bad in Delhi, especially in winters? Because it's, Delhi is like a bowl kind of geography. We have Himalayas to the north. So what happens in the winter is that the wind speed really comes down. In a summer day, these pollutants are always there, from factory emissions and multiple other sources. But they would rise up and up above in the atmosphere. But in winter, that all gets trapped. Imagine you have the warm layer that's right above our head right now. It's a lid. It works as a lid that it just closes off the entire atmosphere. The winds are not blowing that so that air won't pass through. So all the pollutants are trapped just in there. And this is where we live.
There's a lot of cities like that. Beijing
Yes.
comes to mind. Sarajevo can get this. So just to recap, it's these particles are from a number of sources.
Yes.
And then it's the unique geography of Delhi during this time of year, which traps it
Yes.
all into this big bowl.
Yes.
Okay. So you live in Delhi and you work as a reporter, and this has been going on for many, many years. What does it mean to have this smog season for your daily life? Tell me a bit about how people in Delhi navigate this season. What kind of precautions, for instance, you might take before leaving the house?
When I go out, I have an N95. I do put it up. My partner does put it up. And I'm not allowing my mother to visit me. I'm not allowing any of our parents to visit us because it's just bad here. I know that she's going to come and she's going to fall sick for sure. But it's a lot different for every other section of the society when we look at it. There's this affluent or upper middle class society that has bought air purifiers and that has put air ventilation in their house and in their offices.
Air purifiers are flying off the shelves. Stores across Delhi say that sales have jumped by 60 to 70%. Air purifiers are no longer a luxury, they have become a necessity.
Then there are office going people, they get down from their home, which has air purifiers. They get in their cars, which is like they do not roll down windows. And then they go to their offices, which are again have air purifiers. But for a lot of people like us and people who are less privileged, they are having it much worse. And to be very honest, there's nothing different that we do.
There are challenges. There's irritation in the eyes. Sometimes when I'm stuck in traffic, I feel dizzy, but I'm compelled to work. I have to feed my kids.
You go about it as business as usual. Like, yes, people are putting up masks. People are trying to cut down their children's outdoor time, but you can't escape it. It is everywhere. And at some point, people on the lower rung of the society are just going about their work as they would do on, any other day.
But I mean, if you went to some of these areas where people can't avoid it, like a tea stall, would the owner be wearing a mask? Is everyone just masked up during this time of year?
Not really. It was difficult to get people to mask on during COVID around here. So if the death is not immediately imminent, people are not masking up. People are aware that this is bad. People who can mask up are masking up, but not everyone is, because you go out there, it's almost banal. I mean, it does sound weird when I say this. I know it. I'm sure it does sound weird to you as well, that, you can see it, you can feel it in your eyes, but you're not masking up. Why? Because I think that it's just very, very normalized out there. And it's just a matter of fact now in the life here. And
it's going to sound even weirder when I ask you this next question. What kind of impact does this type of air quality have on people's health?
So hospitals and clinics are finally, reporting surge in patients. I was just reading a story this afternoon that 200,000 people have reached Delhi's just 6 government hospitals.
6 major central government hospitals in Delhi recorded more than 2 lakh cases of acute respiratory illness between 2022 and 2024. And out of these, more than 30,000 patients required hospitalization.
But to answer your question, when you have this long-term exposure to this fine matter that you described, PM 2.5, it raises risk of several chronic respiratory diseases, cardiovascular diseases. It increases risk for your heart attack, strokes. It reduces lung development in children. A couple of years ago, every winter this would happen. And, as media, as journalists, how would you explain people that, that this is dangerous? You need to find new and new ways to do that. And I remember that, press had this entire thing running 2 to 3 years ago, that living one day in Delhi, it's like smoking 80 cigarettes. That's how much you're taking in.
Wow.
It has increased risk of a certain type of cancer, and it just overall decreases your life expectancy. I remember reading a report that living in Delhi, your life expectancy reduces by 11 years.
11 years?
11 years.
Of your life. You don't get those back.
Yeah, you don't get those back. And it is like, you're slowly killing yourself, knowing that you're killing yourself. But it is the capital of the world's most populous nation. If people are not here, then where do they go?
We'll have more with Yash after a quick break. So Yash, India's battle with toxic air is certainly not new. For the last decade, Delhi has held the title of the world's most polluted city. In fact, we did an episode on Delhi pollution 5 years ago here on The Take, and people were saying a lot of the same things you're saying now. In fact, one doctor told us that it was rare to see pink lungs during examinations, and that newborn babies were being declared smokers. They had the lungs of smokers because of the air that their mothers had been breathing. Yet, as you're saying, it all feels like it's being normalized. But this year, it's like some people just said, we're not going to take this anymore. And we're starting to see protests in Delhi around this issue.
The air we are breathing has become so polluted that even living itself has become difficult. If we don't speak up now, then when will we?
So why is that? What has changed that's bringing protesters into the streets?
Yes, definitely that is something that is happening in Delhi. Small groups of people are getting together, and these are citizens, these are college students, these are school-going students, a group of mother you find at the protest. And people are turning up because until last year, every year it was some sort of urgency to it, The government would at least behave that, no, this is a problem. We are looking at multiple measures, so whatever. But after so many years, we now know that none of the measures that they actually take have any impact. And this year it just feels very, I don't know. As a citizen, I feel cheated because it's just deliberate ignorance.
Well, cheated out of potentially years of your life. I mean, I understand it. You've met with some of these protesters. Are there any personal stories you can share? There's something that stuck with you?
Of course, I remember one protester was there who said that, it was pretty personal for him because, like I just told you, like my mother, his parents were actually residents of Delhi, and they were not so, coming from money that he could just shift his parents out from the city to some other place. And he actually had to shift his parents back to relatives' home in a village. And people are just having to uproot their lives. And there are just people out there, you meet them and they are missing their basic daily lives, that they just can't go out for morning jogs. You can't just go out to ride your bicycle through the city or any part of it. It's just impossible. And when you meet these protesters, you meet the mothers who are out there. And I know a group of mothers who organize these protests every year, actually. They go by the name of Warrior Moms, but they have been doing it year and year again, just coming out and asking that, do our children not deserve just clean air?
Knowing that my children are breathing poison, I will fight till my last breath at least. And I feel sad saying that. I've said that earlier also, that I recently now started getting this horrible feeling that I don't think in my lifetime I'm going to see clean air for my children.
As I said, there's, this banality around it, that sometimes it just doesn't even feel real because the government just doesn't take it seriously. That's why the protesters are out there on the streets now, that, they are demanding that something tangible happens, that the smog goes away.
Yeah. So let's talk about what the government is doing. If you ask somebody in the Indian government how they're dealing with this, they'd point to something called the Graded Response Action Plan, GRAP, which triggers certain measures as air pollution gets worse. These are things like restrictions on construction, expanded public transit, and street sprinklers, for example. So, I mean, these sound like they're doing something. Why are people so frustrated with the government? Why has that response been criticized as inadequate?
Because, and I'll quote a mother that I had actually met in one of these protests. She said that it's like the government is putting a bandage on our cancer. What they are trying to do is just pass off, ride this winter through. And that's what they do every year. When we look at these measures that you listed out, or that are included in the GRAD measures, that are like, suspending construction works or controlling industrial emissions, either these are not, very efficiently implemented or looked at, and they have practically failed every winter to bring it down. And this year, there's a change in government. After a decade, now the Delhi government is ruled by Narendra Modi's party, that's Bharatiya Janata Party. And what we see this year it's what that they have done on national level as well, that they go for the optics, that they want the message to go out.
And India Today reality check has now found trucks sprinkling water at air quality stations only to try and suggest that the air quality has improved.
BJP government and officers are saying that this is a routine exercise to settle down dust particles near the AQI monitoring station.
How insane it is that you would invest money, you would put your efforts in bringing down a tower's AQI down in a neighborhood by making a tanker just go round and round the tower sprinkling water. The AQI would come down, you would send your TV media there, just click those visuals and say that the pollution levels are coming down. When we, who are the people living in Delhi, watching it on our TV screens, can smell it, can taste it on our tongue. So, that's why these measures they do not mean anything.
But okay, let me push back on that, just devil's advocate, because you have to imagine that the powers that be see how symbolically harmful this is. This is a moment where India is stepping out on the world stage. Its leaders feel that the country is claiming its rightful place in the pantheon of world powers. Yet, in its capital city, the seat of its power, the air is unbreathable. If there were a feasible fix, a reasonable fix to this, wouldn't it be prioritized?
I think it's, as you said, as your question asked, that wouldn't it be prioritized? I think it is about priority. When you say that, are there no right measures? You tell me, are there not examples out there of the countries who have implemented a thought out strategy, a process that even if it took 5 years, 10 years for it to implement, they would try and bring down the level of pollutions over the years, Last week, I was reading a research paper on how Beijing made it a bit nicer for the citizens there and clean the air. And that included some measures that I had never seen them taking here, like shifting out the industries from Beijing outskirts completely, even if they meant immediate job losses for some people. But what we have seen in Delhi is that they just take measures, they just try to ride this winter out. And that's what they do every season.
So this smog is doing real, potentially long-lasting harm to people's health, but eventually it will lift. And that's one of the issues. It lifts every year, and then it sort of fades into the background until next year. So what do you worry about long-term, and what do you think might have to happen to break the cycle?
Policy changes, and I think people's attitude also need to change regarding this. I mean, it is never an issue. It is never an election issue. People are not mobilized, and it's just when you ask me that what is my worst fear of what it would become, I think I'm already living my worst fear. The meters are maxing out. And the worst fear is that it is going to go away in just like 2-3 months. I mean, the AQI still remains bad. It's just the visibility clears out a bit in the summer. Even during the summer, the air that we breathe, it's not 50 or 60 AQI. It's still bad.
And to be fair, India has a ton of cities that are among the most polluted in the world. So this is, I think it's 255 out of the 293 Indian cities exceeded the WHO's annual PM 2.5 standard. So yes, it's not just a Delhi problem.
That, of course. And a lot of time, media is also criticized for this, that, you always call it this a Delhi problem. You always focus so much in Delhi. When you actually go to the cities that are nearby, any big city near Delhi or near this central India zone, it's almost the same. It's just a bit more visible, but it's almost as bad as Delhi. So it's not just Delhi's problem at all. It is just that it's millions of people concentrated around this very small part in India. And it's just, it's of course the national capital. So eyes are on it.
Okay, last question. At what point do people start voting with their feet, saying that even though we love this city, we just can't live like this and we're going to go somewhere else? And that brings up another question, because there are a lot of people who just don't have the means to live somewhere else. They can't just move up sticks.
Of course it is, the air pollution out there is not equal for everyone. Like a lot of crises that we see around us, it's not equal. The gravity of what people coming from the marginalized section of society feel, the risk and the exposure that they have is nowhere near to the people of upper middle class in Indian society. It is completely different. And they are the one with the least resources to even shield themselves. They are the one with the least resources that even if when they contract a disease, it's not like they are getting the best treatment out there for it. No one looks after them and no one cares for it. in India. And I fear that that is not going to change, not anytime soon, because this rot runs through layers and layers of uh, political and societal structure in India that we see around ourselves. That people are not treated as equals, and people have different rights upon where they live, where they come from, which home or which caste they were born into. I mean, these are a lot of issues that define your life. And it's even if you live in the same block, even if you live in the same residential building as someone else, it's not the same for you, because the divide just runs so deep and it is just layered. Air pollution in Delhi is nothing different. It's just the most vulnerable people are out there, most exposed to this pollution with no resources at all on their hands.
Yashraj Sharma, thank you for coming on The Take today.
Thank you, Kevin. It was great speaking with you, and thank you for having me.